Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever it is. Welcome to Verbling. Hi there, I'm Teacher Oakley, and for the next hour, we are going to be looking at conditional sentences. Whoa, don't look at my collar. Conditional sentences, if sentences with if clauses, a condition. If this happens, then this happens. These are conditional sentences, meaning the result clause depends on the condition. These are tricky. These are tricky because you have some weird things going on with the grammar. You have certain constrictions for conditional sentences, constrictions, I should say, restrictions. Sorry, bad English. In regards to verb tense and verb usage for hypothetical imaginary conditions. What if everyone were the color green? That's a conditional question. If everyone were the color green, then plants would be highly revered. Wow. There's a hypothetical condition. Second conditional. Okay, we're going to look at the three kinds of conditional sentences, and you, the students, will be practicing using them. I'm going to lay it out for you really simply, how to form a conditional sentence, exactly what's necessary, and when they're used, and then you can practice. You can practice using them. Hey, where is everyone today? Okay. I'm just going to start because there's a lot of material to cover when you're talking about conditional sentences. So I'll let you guys join me, and hey, you can catch up. Okay. First conditional. There are three types of conditional sentences. In one school of thought, they're simply called conditional 1, 2, and 3. They're also called the real, the unreal, and the past. Okay, first of all, the real conditional. It is used for real or possible situations. In other words, the situation or result happens if the condition is met. Here's the thing. All of these conditional sentences have to do with the belief of the speaker. If the speaker thinks that all dogs should have pink spots, then he could use conditional number 1. It depends what the speaker thinks. First conditional is called the real conditional. It is the condition seems realistic and the result seems realistic. Please note that we usually use if in a conditional sentence. However, you can use unless to mean if not, unless he hurries up. For example, means the same thing as if he doesn't hurry up. Okay, some examples. If it rains, we will stay at home. Okay, now this is called the real conditional because guess what? It does rain. This is a very normal state of affairs. Rain is a very normal thing, so very realistic possibility that it may rain. It happens. Hey, wow, no kidding. Okay. Notice. When the if clause is first, you need a comma to separate the two clauses, the if clause or the condition and the result clause. Also, please notice if it rains is in fact in the present tense and the result is in the simple future tense. We will stay at home. Of course, the simple future tense can be formed with will or the verb to be and going to. We are going to stay home, stay at home. If it rains, we are going to stay at home is equally valid. It's again simple future tense. So, present tense, simple future. You have to know this. This is important. The verb tenses are key to understanding conditional sentences. Where is everyone today? Is there a reason no one has joined me? Can you guys get in the class? Hang on. Okay. Second example here. Here we have the result first. He will arrive late, simple future. Then instead of if, we use the negative, which unless, which means if not, unless he hurries up. Notice when the condition is the second clause in the sentence, I don't need a comma. Okay, he will arrive late unless he hurries up. He hurries up again. Present tense. Simple present. Okay. Third example, Peter will buy a new car, and again the condition comes second, if he gets his raise. Now, if he gets a raise, people get raises all the time, unless he hurries up. Obviously, he could hurry up. If it rains, obviously, these are real conditions. These things actually happen. Again, the important point is the speaker thinks they can happen. If the speaker's insane, the speaker may use a real conditional, which you may think is unreal, but it is, again, up to the speaker to frame that question. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. Uh, nice to have you aboard. Welcome aboard, Captain.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very odd. Like you're the first one to show up 10 minutes after the class starts. No one else is here. Yesterday, no one could get in the class. Okay, we're looking at conditionals. Daniel, you
Mhm.
want to practice this based on these examples? A real conditional. All right. I'll give it a try. An if clause in the present tense and then simple future as a result.
Mm, okay. How many examples? One?
Well, you've got plenty of time. Give me 75. No, I'm kidding.
75. You're crazy.
Yes.
Let me think. Okay, simple present and then future. Okay, now these examples. If my cat uh, doesn't sleep today, I'm gonna be drowsy tomorrow, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. That was interesting. Okay. I like that. If Okay, if my cat doesn't, okay, a negative condition, sleep today, okay, that's fine. It's a negative condition, but it is in the present tense. If the if clause goes first, we need a comma written. And if you're speaking, you need to pause a little bit, obviously. If my cat doesn't sleep today, what was your second clause?
I will be drowsy tomorrow.
Drowsy tomorrow. You know, since you fly planes, now I'm worried about your cat. I don't want a drowsy pilot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
You can do that. I mean, uh, here in this phrase, there is a lack of something. I mean,
is there a lack of
uh,
something?
well, yeah, maybe it has no sense in some way. No.
Well, grammatically speaking, it is perfectly fine as a conditional one, as a real conditional. It's totally okay. If it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense because of the content. I don't know why, your cat not sleeping makes you sleepy. But hey, it goes very far in showing the point that even if the speaker's insane and the conditions don't match the result, grammatically speaking, it's correct.
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
So, for all intents and purposes, it works perfectly fine. It's a weird result of a condition, that's all. Okay. If it rains, I will have purple dreams. I mean, okay, if I really believe that, I can use the real condition, even though the result and the condition don't really match. It's up to the speaker.
So
Uh,
you gotta believe that in order to make
well, the speaker's got to believe it. That's all. The listener doesn't have to believe it.
okay, okay.
Okay. Uh, Again, you can always flip flop the clauses. You can switch them. If he finishes on time, we will go to the movies. We will go to the movies if he finishes on time. If my cat doesn't sleep today, I will be drowsy tomorrow. I will be drowsy tomorrow if my cat doesn't sleep today. It makes absolutely no difference in any conditional. It really does not affect meaning at all. Uh, which way you, which order you put the clauses in. Okie doke. Let's look at conditional number 2, or the unreal conditional. It is used for impossible, improbable, highly unlikely situations, an imaginary result. Very important. In the second conditional, there is a very strange thing that happens, but this is very important. This is one of the weird English exceptions. The verb to be in the second conditional is always conjugated as were. Of course, if you're normally speaking a normal statement, I was feeding my cat. Okay, there's a past continuous tense, right? I was tired. Of course, we use was. He was crazy. Past tense. Not here. In the second conditional, we would never say was. It's as simple as that. Uh, okay. We say I were,
I
which
were. That's weird.
it is weird. It's a very strange exception. But nevertheless, there it is. And to be grammatically correct, that's what you have to do. Okay, let's look at some examples. If he studied more, he would pass the exam. Now, Notice that the condition is past tense. If he studied more, instead of if it rains, present tense, unless he hurries up, if he gets a raise, present tense. In the real conditional, in the unreal conditional, it's always past tense. If he studied more, and then the result, he would pass the exam. Okay, notice instead of using a simple future, we're going to use a modal, usually a modal of probability. He would pass the exam. You could use he might pass the exam. He may pass the exam. Okay, something to indicate probability because it's imaginary. So it's likely something would happen, but heck, it's a totally imaginary situation. So how can you be sure of what the outcome would be? So you have to express that by using a modal. All right, again, it doesn't matter which order you put the clauses. I would lower taxes. And then here we have the weird conjugation. If I were the president. All right. They would buy a new house if they had more money. Okay. So there you go. That's it. Past simple. And that's it. And then a modal. You want to try this one out?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I,
Maybe. If
I
I
would.
if I tried it out, I might make a fool of myself. Woo.
I'll try it out. Yeah, for me
Okay.
it's so tough to do this conditionals. I will try. I would go to the beach every day if I were living in Miami. I'm not sure if that's correct.
I think you said I would go to the beach every day.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
Uh, all right. There's your first clause. If I lived, past tense, in
Lived.
Miami.
You can say where living. No.
Yeah, that's past tense, right?
Yeah, but past continuous with where. That's weird.
But you're absolutely correct. You're totally correct. That's right. If I lived in Miami or if I were living in Miami. Yes, and thank you for pointing that out. Um, yes, you can use simple past, you can use past continuous. Uh, just don't go to the perfect tense because then you're messing with conditional number 3. Actually, this is perfectly okay. I would go to the beach every day if I were living in Miami. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So yes, in fact,
Hmm.
you can do this. It's very complicated and weird, but it is even possible to use passive tenses. I'm sorry, passive voice with a conditional. The main point is here, I have to use a past tense in the conditional, in the condition clause. Um, if I'm gonna, I can't go perfect though. I can't because that changes the meaning. Because then I'm talking about conditional number 3. Here's the tough one. Okay, the past conditional. Okay, this is weird because it's a weird idea. It concerns a past situation with an imaginary condition. Oh, if Hitler had been born an African American, what? If Venus had crashed into the sun a billion years ago, what? I mean, you're talking about things that happened in the past that didn't happen in the past.
You're
Ouch.
modifying the past. You're
That's
rewriting
right.
the history, kind of.
That's right. That's right. You're playing God and you're changing the past. Okay.
Uh,
If Japan had won World War II, okay. Um, so obviously, because the past conditions are imaginary, the results are equally imaginary. Clearly, I mean, obviously. uh, okay. So, for example, a very normal kind of sentence. If he had known that, he would have decided differently. Now, again, the verb tenses are crucial. So, in this form, the third conditional, if he had known that, what verb tense is that? Do you know, Daniel?
that's gonna be. Uh, no, had no idea. Past
Bring the-
perfect, something like
oh
that.
yeah, you got it. You knew. Don't be
I
shy.
didn't know nothing about grammar actually.
Actually, you know nothing about grammar, but you absolutely got it correct. You're totally correct. Past perfect. So there you go. The if clause is always going to be past perfect. I mean, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. The past perfect always happens. We use the past perfect when we're talking about two things in the past, where one thing is before the other one. So it makes perfect sense. So you're using the past conditional. You're talking about two things: a result in the past, and obviously the result can't happen until the condition happens before the result. So clearly, if logically, it only makes sense. The condition happens first. So past perfect, and then the result is still in the past, but affects the future. So he would have decided this. Have decided. We use present perfect, which again is extremely logical.
I think but for example, in he would or I would, you normally use contraction, right? A native speaker would use
Yeah.
contractions. I'd have,
When speaking,
yeah,
that's
I'm speaking.
yes. Thank you for bringing that up. You're absolutely correct. It would be very normal to use a if he'd known that, for example, he'd have or he would have probably. Okay, see now here this is interesting. Speaking of contractions, I could say he'd have decided differently, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I probably would always contract the have the auxiliaries. He would have decided differently.
Would have, okay.
Would have, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Um, okay, I've continued too long here without welcoming Keiko. Hello, Keiko.
Hello, teacher.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm okay.
Nice to see you.
Well, thank you very much. Although you can't see me. Hiding. Good to have you here. Okay, and I also need to welcome Jairo.
Hi,
Hello.
teacher.
Hi, how are you?
I find it. And you?
I'm okay, thanks. Okay, gentlemen, we're looking at conditionals, and we're looking at the third conditional in particular here. Totally hypothetical condition with a totally hypothetical result. Jane would have found a new job if she had stayed in Boston. As in all the conditionals, it doesn't matter if I have the condition first and then the result first and then the condition. It doesn't change the meaning at all. The only difference is if I put the if clause first, and again, I can use if or uh, Well, actually, it would be very weird to use unless with the third conditional. But in any case, the if clause first, I have to use a comma to separate them in writing. That's it. Okay, let's give this a try. Daniel, I'm going to take the pressure off you here. I'm gonna have Keiko try this first. Keiko?
No problem.
Keiko?
Okay, teacher.
All right, try making me a sentence. Build me something.
If the building had if the building had had already been
What's that? Already?
had already been had already been built.
Okay.
Yeah, no, if the house had already been built.
You just don't like building and build. Sounds too
Yeah.
repetitive. Okay.
If the house had already been built.
Okay.
Comma.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Good.
It would be. It would have. It would
Yes.
have been
Okay.
cheaper
Well, okay. Okay.
to live there.
Okay. If the house had already been built, okay. Very good. We've got an adverb here, which is thankfully in the correct place after the first auxiliary. We have had been, so we've got the past perfect here. Had been built. Okay, this is interesting. Had been built, so this is a passive form. Passive past perfect. And we've thrown in an adverb. Nice. Ooh, sexy. Very good. Okay. You know what? It works. It would have been, okay, present perfect. It would have been cheaper to live there. Okay, infinitive. This sentence works. Okay, so thank you very much. That's an excellent example to show that, in fact, you can use a passive form. It is possible to be grammatically correct and use a passive form. The main thing is the if clause has to be past perfect. The result has to be present perfect. Okay, nice job, Keiko.
Thank you, teacher.
It works. There's nothing I can do to repair it because it's perfect. Hyro, you want to give this a shot?
Yes.
Okie doke. Go ahead.
This, if the house had already been built.
What? You're talking about the house again?
No, sorry.
You have a question?
No.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. All right. You want to try to make your own sentence using the third conditional?
If you had no debt,
Okay.
you would have decided to different. No.
Okay. Well,
And,
that's the first sentence. You're just reading this to me.
yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I want you to make your own material.
Hmm.
Care to give it a try?
Mm,
Hiro?
yes.
Give me an action. Give me a noun. And I'll make it for you. I'll make it rain. Okay, give me a noun. I don't care. Cat, pencil, flag, car. Give me a noun. Any noun. Hiro?
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Can I
don't.
have a noun? Any object, place, person, or thing? A noun?
The third condition, if you the the final condition is would have participle result. If you honestly heard, you would won the competition.
I'm
If
sorry.
you this wrong,
I didn't hear you. Could you say that again?
if you honestly heard, you won the competition, win the competition.
If you...
Alice,
Sorry, Ouse?
house. No,
What?
Alice, Alice,
Ooh, I don't understand that word. Ouse?
Alice, Alice.
I'm not getting it. Sorry,
House.
if you house?
No,
Okay. If you house? Actually, house can be a verb. House. If you house someone, you let them stay at your house. But Hiro, no, that's not it.
no.
Okay. What is it? Mm-hmm.
If you have at your house heard. Mm,
Okay, I have a subject noun. Can you give me a verb and action? Any action. Swim, run, dive, think.
Arta, I understand, Arta. If you find a job,
I'm sorry?
if you find a job,
Okay, find a job.
hmm,
Okay. Now, here's the thing. In the if clause, we have to use, there must be the word had. Why? Because there must be the word had and a past participle verb in order to create the third condition. So, Hiro, we can't just use find.
Arta, if you
Okay.
had win the competition, hmm,
Win the competition. Okay, hang on.
if
Okay.
you had
If you had won,
won the competition,
past participle. If you had
first,
won the competition, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. All right. Comma.
mm-hmm.
All right.
um, mm, only you start the phrase with word with it or
It's
have another
okay.
word.
Since you're talking about you, you're probably going to use you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the next part is inevitable. It's going to have to be you would have verb.
Hmm.
There's no other choice, really. It could be, you could use a different modal. You probably would have, or even an adverb. You probably would have, or you might have, you could have. But the fact that I need have or has in the second clause is inevitable. You have to. Okay, so I know what you have to say. You would have what? You would have died. I don't know. Pyro? I don't know, but I know that I'm going to die if we don't finish this sentence. Okay. Okay. The idea, past perfect, present perfect. That is the essential idea that you have to understand. This is an imaginary thing in the past with an imaginary outcome. It doesn't matter what this outcome can be as freaking crazy as you want it to be because it's all imaginary. It's hypothetical. It doesn't matter.
Yes, teacher. When
Yes.
I say if you had, because the past participle it says win or won. They had win competition won. I would say this word.
I'm sorry. What do you? How to say what word? One.
Yes.
One. If you had won the competition.
Ah, tá. Won the competition.
And yes, one and one they sound identical. Okay, this is a homonym. Two different words, different spelling. They sound exactly the same.
One.
One.
If you
I won one race. I won one race. One.
One.
Yeah. They sound identical. That's called a homonym, by the way. Okay, Jairo, I would like to say hi to Max. Hey, Max. So, hi, Max.
Hello,
How are you?
Oakley. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Brian. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm good. Okay, Max.
I think I have example.
Okay. If Max had an example.
If I'd have opportunity to learn English in my youth.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me catch up to you.
I think I've have the opportunity, not? I have or...
Okay. If I had. I can't say. Okay.
And I said I'd had the opportunity to learn English.
In speaking, yeah, you would probably use a contraction. If I'd had, that's true. You would say I'd. No doubt.
Opportunity to learn English in my youth.
To learn English in my youth? Is that what you said?
Youth, yeah.
Yep, that's good. No, that's good. That's actually...
I would have been more fluent now.
Okay. Now this is a very logical and practical sentence. Okay, now this is very good. Good job, Max. All right, this is a very logical sentence and a very likely sentence to actually speak. If I had had the opportunity to learn English, that's hard to say. If I had had the opportunity to learn English in my youth, I would have been more fluent now. This is very good. Okay, here you see it. Had. Yes, this happens in English, and yes, it is grammatically correct to say that. This is very good and very practical use of the third conditional. This seems like something. It is hypothetical because you didn't have the opportunity, so it's imaginary, but it's the outcome is imaginary, but it's still, and yet it's still quite logical and it makes sense. All right, very practical use. Okay, Daniel. Thank you for your patience. Your turn.
If the dinosaurs,
Great.
if the dinosaurs hadn't been on Earth, comma,
Yeah.
I would have, right? Would have.
Yeah, that's
I would have
true.
watched Titanic that night.
I would have watched
Titanic.
wait, let me do the proper thing. I would have watched Titanic tonight?
That night.
That night.
Uh,
Well, this is a totally weird sentence. Okay. Totally weird information and totally weird result.
oh, because I wouldn't have watched Jurassic Park.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Let me just do this then. Oh, that's funny. All right. Okay. Jurassic Park wouldn't exist. Okay, like that? That's the
Yeah.
meaning? That's where you're going? Okay, groovy. If the dinosaurs hadn't been on Earth, I would have watched Titanic that night. Okay, Jurassic Park wouldn't exist. Okay, there's a couple interesting things here. I added this information. I took it upon myself, but notice when I add extra information and detail, I still use a modal of probability. I'm still talking hypothetically here. I'm adding details using the hypothetical probability modal. Okay. Also, please note that when I write titles in written English, I actually took the time today to use italics. There's a reason for that. That's what you're supposed to do. Book titles, movie titles, titles of an essay or a magazine article, whatever you're supposed to, in writing anyway, you're supposed to put them in italics. Notice also Jurassic Park, capital J, capital P. Okay, a little writing lesson there. Italics with capitals, marking all the main words, nouns and verbs. Very good. Now, talking about the conditional, although at first blush, I was questioning, what the heck? But it doesn't really matter me questioning what the heck. It doesn't matter because actually this makes this, grammatically speaking, this is perfect. All right, past perfect and the condition, and then have watched in the result clause. Fine. There's absolutely no problem with that. Okay. Again, you can always, any of these sentences, you guys all put if first, but it doesn't matter. you can always put the result clause first. It makes absolutely no difference to the meaning, spoken or written. I would have watched Titanic that night if the dinosaurs hadn't been on Earth. Great. Although that sounds really weird, right? But sounds kind of funny. Nevertheless, that's kind of funny. You know, putting the result clause first, I have to say, you know, just from a native speaker's point of view, sometimes it kind of sounds like whining. I would have cleaned my room if you had told me to do it earlier. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Let's do something complicated. No, not really. We're going to fill in the blanks with the correct missing half of the sentence. And by that, I mean these are half of a sentence. Okay, so all right, let's try this out. Keiko, how would you finish this sentence?
If you take a look at the handout, you'll be informed about the situation.
You will. That's awesome. But you can go ahead and use one of these phrases. Yeah.
Okay, teacher. Sorry.
Although your answer was very, very good because you used the simple future in the result clause. So, for example, probably this one here, right? You'll find all the telephone numbers, addresses, and other necessary information. Okay, simple, present tense, all right? And then simple future. This is conditional number one, very realistic, okay? It's obviously very real and possible for somebody to look at a handout. What's a handout, Keiko? Ooh, that's a tricky question.
Handout.
Look at the handout. What is the handout? Yeah.
Look at the handout. Maybe a book of notes in this case, but
In this case, yes.
yeah, but it can be to give someone to need people, for example.
Needy people.
Needy people.
I'm not asking for a handout. Okay, something you give for free.
Yeah.
That's right. In this case, it means a sheet of paper or some notes, as you said. That's right. Very good. A handout. So a couple meanings there. Excellent. Hyro.
Hello, teacher.
Hi. What do you think of this? Something. He'd help me with this presentation. Which phrase? Which phrase should I use?
Call an ambulance.
Should I say, if we didn't handle these situations well, he'd help me with this presentation? Does that make sense?
Yes.
No. No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. The condition is going to refer to the noun the result noun is going to refer to they're going to be related, the result and the condition. So the subject noun, he your condition has to have he. So here I have we. So that makes absolutely no sense. It's just it has to refer to he. Okay, so this one does not work. How about if this happens, he'd help me with this presentation. Does that make sense?
Yes, if you have.
No.
No?
No, this is a thing. It's an it. This is not he. If a guest loses his passport, call an ambulance. He'd help me with this presentation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No.
No.
No. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense. They're totally unrelated. If a guest loses his passport, he'd help me with the presentation. Hyro, I'm not
Yes.
bringing my passport to your presentation. Okay. How about this? If Tom were here,
Or here. Yes, this is correct.
this is the one. Okay. Seriously now. Okay. There you go. That makes sense. If Tom were here, Tom, would help me with this presentation. Okay. This is an unreal condition. Why? Because Tom is not here. Notice the conjugation of the verb. If Tom, I don't say if Tom was here. Notice the weird conjugation were. Okay. If Tom were here, he's not. This is the unreal. It's past tense. I know this is not normal. That's correct. This is a very very strange kind of different thing in English. We don't normally conjugate a verb like this. The verb to be specifically is were, specifically in the second conditional. He would help me. Okay, again, we're using a modal of probability, okay, to express the result. Okay, let's move on. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today. Okay, let's get started. Today's subject is helping guests with emergency situations. All right. Let's see here. Max, we certainly have a worse reputation.
We certainly have a worse reputation. If this happens.
No.
No. If we didn't handle this situation well.
There you go. It cannot be if this happens. What tense is if this happens?
If this I'm not. I don't understand which sentence. Which.
The correct answer is if we didn't handle these situations well. It would have to be. Why would it have to be?
Okay. If this happens, I'll go to the movie.
Okay, let me explain. You chose if this happens, I will go to the movie. That's right. This is present tense. I'm asking you what tense, verb tense is this? Present tense.
Yes.
We only use present tense in the if clause for a real situation. So I presented you with the result, and I gave you a modal. Maybe we would means okay, possibly. We use would for hypothetical, unreal, imaginary situations. Okay, so the result, we would certainly have a worse reputation, demands that the result be put in the second conditional, so I have to use past tense.
Okay.
Okay.
when if in the middle sentence we don't have comma.
You don't need a comma. When
Don't
the if
need.
clause is first, you need a comma. Well, and it's
Okay.
quite simple because it's a subordinate clause. Because it's not an independent clause. If I say, if I didn't know, well, that doesn't make sense by itself. So it's a dependent clause. Okay. If I just say, if this happens, or if a guest loses his passport, period, that makes no sense. It's not an independent clause. So anytime we use a subordinate clause first, we need to have a comma, actually. Whenever you look out the window, okay, that makes no sense by itself. So if I say, whenever you look out the window, I need a comma, you'll see a bird. Okay.
Okay.
Great. All right. So for the same reason, whenever we form conditionals, if the if clause is first, you need a comma. It's a subordinate clause. So it works just like the rest of English, actually. It's really no different. Okay. Daniel, call the consulate. Hang on. Okay.
If this happens, no?
There you go. Very good. If this happens, call the consulate. Immediately. Okay. Now this is interesting here. Yes, that's right. If this happens, present tense, call the consulate. Why do I not have a future tense here, Daniel? It should be a simple future, right? If this happens, you will call the consulate.
No, I don't know. You're giving a command, or I don't know.
Yes, that's exactly right. You're given a command. When I ask you to close the door, I don't say you will close the door. That's exactly right.
Teacher,
Yes.
I'm asking a question.
Yes.
Hand in this situation, it means control. The same word.
Handle any situation here.
Yeah, it's like
Yes, that's right. If you handle, it can mean two things. It can mean a couple things. It can mean control. If I say, Hyro, you can't handle the truth, I mean you can't deal with it. You won't be emotionally stable if I tell you the truth. You can handle. You can handle an object. Okay, stop handling the merchandise. Put down that laptop. You're not allowed to handle the merchandise. You put it in your hands and you move it around. You're handling it. Okay. Here it means control, though. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, gentlemen. I am out of time. I'm way out of time. Once again, I'm going to start my next class late. Oh my God, I'm going to get fired. So I have to go. Thank you very much. Hopefully you grasp at least part of conditionals. I know it's tough to wrap your head around, but thank you very much for hanging in there. Bye, guys.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank